Welcome back to Briggs on Books, a truly international talk show where we talk to authors and people who are in the process of writing and people who help authors and publishers and all aspects of it. It's so complicated. I always say anybody can write a book, but few people can finish writing a book and actually get it out there. And one person who's really good at it is our next guest, Julienne B. Ryan. Welcome, Julienne.
Well, I'm so thrilled to be here, and it's great to be back chatting with you to let you know all the good things that have happened and everything I've learned that I can share with others on their writing journey.
Yeah, we appreciate that those who get there can do that. By the way, the Learned It in Queens Communications Playbook and Workbook. Is that what you have on the screen there?
I have just the shortened version. There is a new book as of 2 weeks ago that includes a workbook. And then when you ask me the question why, I'll be happy to expand why the workbook.
Well, I got a feeling I know why, because when we talked about it before and you said about a workbook, I said, wow, that's really awesome. Tell us about the whole thing.
All right. The book started years ago when I was asked to give a speech, and I realized I had to figure out a way to reach an audience that was going to be 500 people, mostly men from all over the country, different backgrounds, and how could I connect with them? Mm-hmm. And when I found out that it was going to be that large a group of chief executives, I panicked. Because all I can think is they're going to see this short little woman while I hear my New York Queens accent, and they're going to say, who asked her to come? But that was the best moment I ever had, because what I decided to do is can only keep it authentic and show up as you are.
That's right.
And reach everybody and have some fun with the fact we get in trouble with our communications all the time. Yeah. So the speech was great. People invited me more than once. And then I thought, oh, easy peasy. I'm going to write a book because I have everything I need, a well-received speech. And that was like the Iliad was written faster than this book, because what works on the stage doesn't work in person. I mean, what worked on the stage doesn't work on the page, because you have to introduce yourself to your reader and include them in a new way. So while I got that out the door and started to work, and then COVID came, so that was interesting, how we show up and explain ourselves to other people. But in the back of my mind was always, there should be something else with this, especially after we did all these Zooms. We're doing all these versions of how we're coming together. And you can read a book and you go, well, that's nice, but what are you going to do about it? So the workbook was for a little bit of reflection in a very humorous New York way about living through the Zoom festival with my husband during COVID, but also about breaking the book down to give you some questions that you can take some lessons. And I went through it myself. Friends have taken it. And it's about getting out of our own way and finding the good and finding some humor in what we do badly and figuring out how we can fix it so we can show up a little differently. Because ironically, I know I want to tell you this book will fix everybody else. First, you got to fix yourself. You
got to fix yourself. Yeah, I like what you said, how to get out of your own way. By the way, you have a speaking engagement coming up in New York, I think. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. This is an example of, at a certain point, you got to just give it a go. There is a wonderful organization called writersread.org, started by an Ed McMahon, not the one who used to be the host for Carson, but another gentleman who created this platform for writers, playwrights, etc., to create a piece around a theme, or write something they have, or read something they've already written that's around this theme. Now, it's going to seem a little ironic, but I wrote a humorous piece about growing up in Queens when I was 6 years old that I'm performing on Sunday. The theme of the event is That's Italian. Okay. But I am not Italian. I'm Polish-American and Lithuanian American. My mother was born in France and immigrated. My husband's from Dublin, but I made the cut. And I'm going down to the City Winery on Sunday afternoon, and I'm going to be one of this great group of people and have some fun connecting with everybody and reading stories from different parts of our lives and having some fun with it.
Wow. Now, for those watching this video, sometimes these videos, they run for months, but we're talking about Sunday, October 8th, 2023, and they could go down, where's the winery in Manhattan?
City Winery. It's right on the river. It's really pretty. There's a great esplanade now, a walkway. But the other good thing is the podcast. It's also a podcast, so whatever I say that day will be recorded forever. So that's the other thing. They're going to be recording it too for their podcast series.
If people might want to attend or find out more about that, is that on your website?
Yes, it is. I had to think. See, I have my own worst marketing.
Yes,
it is. It is on my website.
By the way, we have
this is what happens when you wear too many hats in your own life. You're like, did she do what she was supposed to do? Yes, she did.
We have your website on the screen, jryanpartners.com. And also, Julie, tell us your Instagram address.
Oh, good Lord.
It's on the screen. I just can't see that.
Yes. This is like a bad homework assignment. If you go to my website, you can click on coming events, and it's there with some of the things I'm doing.
I think it's julienneb.ryan is the Instagram. So
Julienne B, as in boy, Ryan is the Instagram.
Julienne B. Ryan, right. I know it because you sent it to me. I copied it and pasted it on there so I couldn't get it wrong. Now, I want to ask you this before we go too far. You sent me a list of where your books are available. I'm going to put that on the YouTube when people watch it. They could go through and find some of those places. But just tell us, because it was fascinating. They're all over the world.
They are. And they're in England, they're in Ireland, they're in Germany, they're in Denmark. They are overseas in Asia. And what I learned today from another colleague is a lot of the people buying books are buying the English language books.
Nice.
So if you are writing, your market's probably bigger than you originally thought.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see. So I'm going to be responsible for teaching people a Queen's accent.
Nice.
And corrupting people who have probably had British instructors in all these great English classes, and I'm going to mess them up. But it'll be for a good cause.
Well, I tell you, Julienne, I ask almost every author, where can people buy your books? And they always go, but you sent me a list, and I appreciate that very much because we want to share that.
Barnes & Noble's and Amazon,
yeah.
That's all great. And Walmart, that's another American recognizable site.
Now, can they go right to your website and purchase a book?
It'll take a link to go. It's like 2 clicks away.
Okay,
so
2 clicks. If you can't find it, just go to the website. By the way, I went to Amazon today and visited your Amazon authors page, and it was quite impressive. So people could find you there and read up a little on you or go to your website. Tell me, I know you've been on a couple times, but let's just, for those just tuning in, who could use your book? Who should be buying that book?
The person... I guess adults and professionals to start with, because everyone always says, what's your demographic? But I do think taking a look at our world, somebody who knows that they're not doing their best with their communication, they find they're a little angrier, they're a little unsettled. This book is like your stealth tool to really do it quietly and privately with yourself, to just have some fun and pay attention to what you're doing.
Right.
And it's also a great tool to bring with your family and friends. We're coming up to Thanksgiving or trick or treat, to really take a look at the book and have some fun with it. Because I call things out for what it is. We make assumptions about people in our head before we even pick up the phone. We've already written the script. So I call things out. Right. And I also give you simple things that really make sense. And it's going to give you more comfort, because you're going to feel a little more grounded and comfortable in your space when you go to talk to somebody. I met somebody today who was quite angry, quite animated, and I was like, a prior me would have been wanting to step up and say, that's wrong, and I don't agree with it. Today, I kind of sit there, all in good time. That person wants to raise his voice and assume a lot of things about people. Not the right time. So I think it's a tool to give us some confidence. And what's important to know, I didn't come out of this from a place of feeling like I'm the most fantastic person in the world. I came out of it from years of being really incredible shy and not talking. Wow. Really teaching myself to ask questions. And simple things have made the difference in building trust and taking conflict down and building some good skills that we can use every day. And we have to practice every day, because every day is a new experience. Whether we're married to the person, you look at them like, seriously, is that how we're talking to each other? Yeah. Or if it's somebody at work. So it's an ongoing thing.
If I said, who needs your book? And you said, everybody, I would have agreed because, even I communicate for a living, but I'm always looking for ways to sharpen it up. And sometimes I can't see the forest for the trees. And I love books like yours that kind of make me look at myself, make me rethink through it, and actually change the way I do some things. So anybody could use this book. So
yes, at its core, even though it says communicating, what we forget sometimes, the big piece of communicating is listening.
yeah.
Taking a pause, taking a pivot. And I know that's the hardest thing when we love what you're saying and we get so excited. We're like, oh, I want to jump in. I want to jump in. If we're getting upset or angry even.
Yeah.
So it's teaching about listening and kind of saying, this gets into my way. This really disrupts and gets me in trouble. And maybe it's me, or maybe I need to give that person a chance. Because I think behind every angry person who stopped listening, there's a bit of pain. Mm-hmm. And paying attention, and sometimes the biggest gift we can be for somebody, and I do this in coaching when people have gone through really tough times, is being there, listening, judging, just showing up where they are, and then you build from that. So if we all can do a little bit of that, every day a little bit, I think we could move the needle forward a bit. But I know with people that are not like ourselves, sometimes too, it would be a big stretch.
I don't think that's our instinct, though, to stop and let the other person talk. So that's why sometimes you need a book like yours to wake you up. Yes, stop and let the other person talk sometimes.
And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I do a podcast with a colleague. It's the Leadership Stories by Narrative. And we talk about different ways of communicating in meetings or engagement, what has really energized people. And occasionally, because we're on a 3-way Zoom or maybe 4-way when they're guests, I find myself piping up and I realize I have to own that I'm not taking my own advice. Yeah. But so it's not about being picture perfect. It's about the try and teaching others to practice with us and be listening. The listening is a beautiful gift. It really can change. I
like books like yours because it makes you think about things just like that. That's what's important. And the idea, now there's a workbook that helps you work through that and examples and makes you think and stuff.
Yes, and there's quotes in the back. There's a whole, the thing, I learned more about my own borough where I grew up writing this book and afterwards, and I found a lot more links for everybody. I also found a lot of quotes of people who came from Queens that are entertainment and politics and people I didn't know had lived there for a while, and it's pretty awesome from different generations. It's fun. It's fun. It is, I call it doing story tourism. You go back and visit things and you see a new part of yourself sometimes and see things in a fresh way.
Now, we talked about this before we came on the air, but I just want to talk about it for our viewers. You came from Queens. Yes. Did you get very far? Aren't you still right in there somewhere?
Did I get over the bridge? Born in Brooklyn for a minute. Yeah. Then my family moved to Queens, and I stayed there a good chunk of my life. Mm-hmm. Then I lived in the Bronx for a couple of years. Yes, that is a place people live and have very great neighborhoods. It's not know what TV had put it up to be. A smidgen in Manhattan, but never in Staten Island. Okay. But I do live in Westchester. It's a commuter county right north of it, but it's still Metro New York. You're still within sight line of the city and et cetera, too. Yeah. So Queens is everywhere.
Yes. I just want to propose that, Christmas time and holidays and periods where we're giving a lot of gifts and we just take these things we find or inane things. Why not give this book? I just feel like it'd be a very positive gift and that anybody could use it. Yes.
It'll save you time with lawyers, doctors. Cut down on the need for Advil or whatever your headache proof of choice is. Yeah. It would really, really help and have some fun. And for the next generation to just joke about things. Because there's a lot of things I talk about that you can start a really good conversation at the table. Yeah. I'm sure you've been at dinners, it doesn't have to be your relatives or families, where you're like, you could time it. We're good, we're going into the danger zone. We need to do something else to break it up. And I do offer some suggestions of something positive to find some good that will show the good sides and re-energize everybody.
That's good.
So
re-energize the whole conversation. Experience. So that might be good. I'm going to take the book to Thanksgiving this year.
Thank you. Thank you. Get the new one. Make them do notes when other people are doing dishes.
It could be a fun game, kind of an activity thing. That would be good.
I know. This is great. I'm gonna take that and do
anytime
that.
I could get everybody to shut off the television on a holiday and let's do an activity, and it's fun. Nobody regrets doing that after. So this will be a good one. So.
I know. That's so good. So I'm always excited here. So yes.
Any last thoughts for our viewers?
Create moments for life. What you're advocating, just for saying come to dinner, but what you're doing on the screen or you're doing it in person, take time to listen and just show up for each other. Have those side-by-side conversations and really delve down and find something new about each other you didn't know. I don't care if you know each other for 20-something years. There's always something to learn and discover and appreciate. And you're going to learn fun things in the meantime.
I know we're way past time, but I could talk to you forever, Julienne. Let me ask you this, popped in my head. I have a weekly Sunday sit down with my parents and family, and there's one person who never talks. And I always say, what should you do? I know what I've been doing, but...
There's some exercises. I think talking, like I've used simple things that connect everything in common. Sometimes it's talking about a simple food that's their favorite food, whether they've made it or someone introduced it to them, and what memories came about. Mm-hmm. That's a nice icebreaker. Yeah. There could be a favorite memory of somebody who was kind, maybe if they had a positive experience about their grandparents or somebody from the past, but something neutral that really would cite some conversation. I think maybe they're working on something, and you can, if they're very shy and they're an introvert and they don't like to be on site, maybe one-to-one, like what crafts are you working on, what hobbies, and they can maybe explain it to other people what they've done. Okay. And the rule is, though, no interruptions. You say positive things. You got to set the guidelines. You give feedback. I would have loved to hear more of. This really stuck to my mind. When you described what you did in that situation, resilience came to mind, creativity. So set the guidelines, because if you set somebody up for sharing, you got to also make sure that they're protected and respected. And that's something I do a lot. I do all the time in my workshops and sessions.
Would you say that
the framework?
That one person who isn't getting to be in on the conversation or afraid to jump in, do you think they probably want to say something? They have something to say?
They have something to say usually, or they're thinking about it, or maybe the comment they want to make is afterwards in a private one-to-one. Yeah. Okay. Every family has dynamics, and sometimes that person might feel like they don't have a voice, or they won't be heard, or they'll be criticized, or they're just good listening. So I think being quiet and introvert doesn't mean you're not social, but I think including them or just acknowledging their presence, or I saw you smiling, it can be very general, or just I saw you chuckling, you're on with me on that one, okay. So they can be included without even talking sometimes, and sometimes that takes baby steps.
There you go.
Because you're changing maybe their whole relationship and how they usually navigate this group that you're part of or your family.
Well, viewers, get this before Thanksgiving. Get it before Christmas. Get it and give it away. This is a great gift idea. Everybody could use it. And thank you, Julienne. Julienne B. Ryan, by the way. Go to her website, jryanpartners.com. Go to Instagram. It's all on the screen for you. Thank you so much, Julienne.
Thank you so much.
And we will be back with more Briggs on Books right after this.